We're still awaiting the government's announcement on the date of a gambling referendum. Prime Minister Perry Christie insists that he'll reveal the date soon, but for now, cabinet discussions continue.
And I've indicated that I'd put it on there, I'd had it in the speech from the throne, so I might continue with it. But most certainly the emphasis is on the operations as they exist in the Bahamas today, the web shops. I think the only question left now is to agree the formulation of the question. And I have a number of possible questions that we will put to the electorate. There is hopefully one question which will amount to do you agree or disagree.
Now, the Prime Minister added that if people reject the referendum, stringent requirements will come into play.
The difficulty is that not everybody is going to be licensed. There's going to be some very stringent requirements for licensing in this matter if it gets that far, and with significant requirements to meet. You know, it's going to be no different to what happens in the casino business. You're going to have to meet some very stringent requirements when it comes down to your capacity to conduct a business of that kind. And it's going to be very stringently enforced because the one thing that will become unmistakably clear, there is a necessity to regulate that business and not leave it unattended.
A senior manager of the Bahamas Telecommunications Company has been given her walking papers. Yesterday, BTC Senior Manager of Legal and Regulatory Affairs Elizabeth Thompson was fired by the company. A letter purportedly from BTC to Thompson says the termination was, quote, without cause. But Charisma Robinson has more on the union's demands and what BTC has explained so far.
Bahamas Communications and Public Managers Union President Talbot Colley was called into a meeting with a BTC executive yesterday where he was told that Ms. Thompson would be fired. However, executives could not say at the time why she was being terminated.
This company that we work for seems to be interested in not interested in the qualified Bahamian. I'm concerned with that.
The BCPMU is not standing alone in its fight to get Ms. Thompson back on the job. Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union President Bernard Evans sees Ms. Thompson's termination as an indication that Cable and Wireless doesn't have the best interests of Bahamian workers at heart.
We warned this nation 2 years ago about the nature and the character of these persons from CNW. This is their nature. They are no respecter of persons or workers throughout the Caribbean, so I'm not surprised. But if we let them get, we cannot and we will not let them get away with this.
We just want to send a clear message to all and sundry that this blatant attack on unionism, on the integrity of the industrial agreement is so offensive that we cannot tolerate it, not only in BTC, but in our beloved Bahamaland.
Now, union officials say there may be a number of reasons behind this termination letter that was served on Ms. Thompson.
On October 4th, Ms. Thompson was elected vice president of the BCPMU. However, Colley says there is nothing in law that prevents her from holding that senior management position.
Even if that were a problem, that is not the reason for the termination. So management has limited its reason for such action in the letter of termination, and it doesn't speak to union involvement at all.
However, in a press statement released this afternoon, the company stood behind its decision, this time clearly defining its reasons. The release says that she was required to hold in the strictest confidence all information received from or concerning the company, protect the interests of the company, and not place herself in a position where there was likely to be a conflict of interest. However, officials in the release say it became increasingly clear to BTC from as far back as 2010 that Ms. Thompson was either unwilling unwilling or unprepared to meet the expectations of the company, which led to doubts about her ability to properly discharge her functions and contributed to a combative working environment. The company reached its last straw back in April when Ms. Thompson sought to participate as a member of the BCPMU's committee to negotiate a successor industrial agreement between the union and the company. BTC says this position was clearly adverse to the company's interests, and when the company objected to her participation on the basis of a conflict of interest, she refused to accept the position of the company. The release went on to say that senior BTC executives over a period of time continued to meet with Ms. Thompson. However, an amicable solution could not be met.
Now, if this matter is not resolved quickly, the union says it will do whatever it takes until Ms. Thompson is reinstated. Charisma Robinson, ZNS Network News.
Well, there's reaction. Labor Minister Shane Gibson has weighed in on the matter. The minister is crying shame on the Bahamas Telecommunications Company for terminating Ms. Thompson. In fact, Mr. Gibson calls Thompson's dismissal disgraceful and says his ministry would do everything within the law to ensure that companies like BTC don't take advantage of workers.
From what I understand, and I don't know if it's true, but from what I understand, she was elected as an executive of a trade union that represent the management at BTC, and because she was elected as an executive, she was terminated. I'm hoping that that is not the case, because if that is the case, it will be something that we will not look too kindly at, because every worker has a right to join a trade union of his or her choice, and of course they have a right to become an executive, except if you're in a unit that is not a part of that union, then that's different. But once you're a part of that, you have a right to be a member.
Stabilizing the economy and the impact of crime dominated talks today between Prime Minister Christie and IMF officials. Giving details of the meeting, Prime Minister Christie noted the IMF's final report to be presented to Parliament will include discussions with cabinet ministers and the opposition.
We indicated very strongly that we were optimistic about certain elements in the economy, and that we were committed to fiscal prudence and being able to, after a period of time, to arrest the negative slide into into debt, sorry. And so, essentially it was that. What they're going to do is they're going to be going around to ministers and the opposition and to other stakeholders in the economy. And at the end of the process, they will meet with me, and I've indicated to them I would wish them to meet with the entire cabinet so that we may end the process of the visit with a comprehensive examination of where we are today with respect to issues in the country.
Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance, Michael Halkitis, had this to say after the talks.
They'll give us a report on what they think the state of the economy is, what they believe are some of the risks, what they think that we should be paying attention to. We expect them to give us some suggestions on some policy options that we might want to consider. And at the end of the day, we'll sit down, consider it, and decide which ones we're gonna implement. But we always look at this as a partnership between us and them. They bring a tremendous amount of expertise and experience from around the world. And they're objective. They have no axe to grind. They're going to tell us just the way it is. And so it's up to us then to take that report and move forward.
While it was reported that discussions in the IMF meeting would also center around the proposed BTC takeback of majority share in the Bahamas Telecommunications Company by the government, Prime Minister Christie said that matter didn't come up. During their 2 weeks here, IMF officials will also be meeting with the private sector and Family Island representatives. The report is due November 2nd. Long-awaited promotions for officers of the country's biggest tax collector have now come into effect. The Customs Department promoted 162 trainee revenue officers to the rank of Grade 2 officers. It represents the largest promotion exercise in the department's history. But as Andrew Knowles tells us tonight, pressure is already on the contingent to secure the government's principal source of revenue, which doesn't appear poised to meet projections.
The Customs Department is responsible for collecting some 50 to 60% of the country's revenue. And during the department's promotion exercise, Customs Controller Charles Turner emphasized the huge role the officers will have to play in order to bring the department's lagging revenue projections up to par.
The performance of the revenue will, to a large extent, depend on this group, as you represent 1/3 of the complement of officers. The Customs Department is behind in meeting the revenue projections set out by the government. I am satisfied, however, that with a renewed effort by all customs officers, we will able to achieve that objective.
But that was the extent to which the controller was willing to go in admitting that customs is not meeting government's projections. Back in August, the government signed a $16.5 million loan with the Inter-American Development Bank in its continued quest to modernize the Customs Department.
A new Customs Management Act was passed. It has not been enacted yet. There's new regulations that will soon be passed. There will be codes of conduct. There is also a new valuation agreement, rules of origin. We are also preparing now for a new customs tariff, the 2012 customs tariff. In that tariff, there will be the EPA rates.
The new Customs Management Act is expected to come into force sometime in 2013. And with the promotions coming at a time when the department is undergoing serious reforms, Mr. Turner reminded the officers to conduct their duties with integrity and honesty, while also challenging them to deliver a higher level of service. Mandates new promotees Keva Major and Ronaldo Colley have accepted.
I think it's truly a humbling experience, but I'm grateful to God for just the opportunity to be here and to be a part of the Customs Department and help it to move to another level.
It's been a long time coming, but by the grace of God, my squad mates and I, we've made it through, and it is again a humbling experience. And we look forward to expanding our skills and our experience within the department.
Of the 162 officers promoted, some 80 are stationed here in New Providence, while the remainder are spread out between Grand Bahama and the other family islands. Andrew Knowles, ZNS Network News.
Well, also during last night's promotion exercise, the Customs Department named the winner of its Employee of the Year award. 7 female officers were nominated for the award, and the winner was selected based on an established criteria, including a minimum of 5 years in the public service, efficiency and competence in the workplace, punctuality and attendance, among other things. In the end, Senior Customs Officer in the Valuation Unit, Delarice Hinsey, captured the award. Hinsey will be the department's nominee in the Public Service Employee of the Year award.
I am humbled by this whole exercise. It means a lot when your colleagues can nominate you for such an honor. I do what I do just because of who I am, not really for reward, but it's always nice that you're recognized. I thank you. I encourage all of you to continue doing your best at whatever it is you do, and reward will come.
Oh, congratulations to her. It's time now for a check of the weather, including the latest on Tropical Storm Sandy. We say hello again to Chief Meteorologist Basil Dean. Hello, Basil.
Hi, Keisha. We have Sandy, which has picked up forward speed heading towards the Bahamas, and as a result, tropical storm watch has been issued for the entire Bahamas, including the Turks and Caicos Islands. For all the details, stay tuned. It's coming up later in the newscast.
Well, still to come tonight, we're finding out more about Renato Curry's future as he prepares to enter the halls of Parliament tomorrow. That's after the break.